So in 1993, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was a smash hit globally around the world. Unlike TMNT, Power Rangers mostly relied upon being goofy and corny. And that's really what propelled it. Now, what's made it what it is for like the last couple of decades or so. In 1995, we had the first movie, and to me, it's still the best Power Rangers film that's ever been made. We'll get to the 2017 film because everything ties into the new series coming up. We'll get to all of that, believe me. I mean, the 95 film hasn't aged that well, but the point I'm making is there's a specific tone that you expect with Power Rangers, especially Mighty Morphin. And everything I've gathered from the news about this new show is pointing towards it being a reboot of the original Mighty Morphin. And as a fan of that series since the 90s, I have a problem with the direction it seems to be going in. And it seems to be a pattern for a lot of old school properties that just people just can't seem to leave alone. Like example, Star Wars, example, TMNT, example, Star Trek for Trekkies out there, example, let's go with Spider-Man maybe. Rewriting the character so much that I don't recognize him anymore. Now, like Green with Evil is my favorite miniseries. It's not even close. Like, so you have to explain why. But like as a kid, right? When they're in the freaking Megazord, and I don't know what's in these clips here, but he shows up and kicks the shit out of them, kicks them all out of. This is the scene right here. So this is where Green Ranger first shows up. And this is the point I'm making with the tone of what Power Rangers is and why this new show. Again, we'll get to all of that. This is probably not going to work the way people think it will. Look at this, look at this. He opens the back door. All this time, as a kid, I thought there was like magically jumping into the robots. And he opens the back door and kicks the shit out of them. He doesn't have any powers, doesn't have any weapons. He kicks the shit out of all of them, including Jason. All. Now, as a kid, I probably took it a little bit more seriously. Because what was that, like 3, 4, 5 years old? As a grown ass adult, this shit is freaking hilarious. You can't take something like this and say, we're going to make it dark and green. I'm like, no, you can't. It's not Power Rangers anymore. Yes, he's doing freaking Dragon Ball Z here. Well, that's the problem with the Turbo movie, which came out a couple years later. It was terrible. It felt like a freaking commercial for Lexus or Nissan or something. Or just like the 95 film, they spent most of the movie with their masks on. And then we'll get the 2017 movie. There's many problems I have with the, I don't have too many problems with the 95 film. Because here's the thing, right? Those of us that grew up with Power Rangers, The only thing we're gonna give a shit about was them saying Morphin Time, beating up monsters, and kicking ass. That's it. Don't give a damn about their personal lives or what they do when they're on the suits. Kimberly paying her hospital bills or paying her mortgage. Gives a damn. See, as corny as this movie is, it gave the fans what they want. They don't spend too much time outside the suits, at least not in the beginning. They lose their powers for some reason. But eventually they get the powers back, and it's a corny ass movie. That's what it's supposed to be. There's no other way to do it. And when we get to this 2017 movie, which again, all this ties into the new show I'm going to talk about in a couple minutes. And just everything about this film was just totally inconsistent, and it just never was going to work. I don't know if it was because of the timeline it came out in, because they mixed it up with the power thing and gave him power, like I think Dino Thunder or something.
I mean, we all do it.
And look at those ugly ass suits. This is a film. Imagine this looking on. I mean, it's been done on TV. That's mostly Japanese footage and whatnot. But I mean, this looks terrible. This is a feature-length film. This looks terrible. Ugh. Looks like a freaking PS2 game. Now, for me, I waited until like the last weekend this came out to see it, and I'm kind of glad I did because clearly I didn't miss anything. This was just dreadful. They had a lot of interesting ideas set up in the film. Rita Repulsa was a Green Ranger, apparently. Zordon was a Red Ranger, apparently. I wanted to see that film. I wanted to dive into that lore. Unfortunately, I just completely skipped over all of it. It was dark and gritty ass Avengers / Dark Knight film that no one really wanted because it's not what Power Rangers ever was. It's never what it should be. And the only thing I will say about like some of the later shows, like Samurai, was a little more mature, but it still had the goofy flavor of Mighty Morphin, which is why it worked for me. But like it was something like Turbo or Zero. I hated the Zero era. And the little shit with the suit with the shapes and whatever. Terrible. And then the Turbo movie, which I already mentioned, there was no real reason for them to transition to Turbo because they're already pretty powerful in the Zeo era, what I can remember anyway. So like usually there's a reason for upgrading, like Mighty Morphin, the powers were fading or something. I don't remember. Like I know when Tommy lost his power as the Green Ranger, he came back as the White Ranger. It was cool and all that. Which brings me to this. Says Disney Plus Power Rangers Reboot is officially happening with Jonathan E. Steinberg and Dan Schultz. So they're showrunners for the Percy Jackson series on Disney Plus. This is actually really good. It's actually based on the books, unlike the movies. Unlike the movies, which were kind of a mess. And they skipped over like all the important stuff that should have been in the movies. The Percy Jackson show actually follows the books a lot closer than the movies ever did. And that's why it works. There's a lot more room for development. There's a lot more story to tell. They're already on Sea of Monsters, and I think there's 5 books in the early series. Percy is supposed to be like 12, 13. These kids are going really fast. But like it seems like they're already developing season 3 for Percy Jackson, so I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. I read the book, so I know where they're going. So coming up with that, if they're really the showrunners for Percy Jackson, this has a chance of being good. But here's the problem right here. Darker and Power Rangers do not go in the same sentence. It's like TMNT started off as a dark, gritty comic series in the 80s. And then you could argue that 90s, at least the first one, a little bit darker, but it still had the campy feel to blend in and appeal to a more broad audience, which is fine. But Power Rangers, you can't go from the goofy, campy tone to dark and gritty like the freaking Dark Knight. Can't do it. It's not Power Rangers at that point. So they're looking to develop a darker, more cinematic series aimed at teens and adults, moving away from the kid-focused roots and the Super Sentai. I get Super Sentai, now wonder why I'm that. Okay. But moving away from the roots that made it what it is. And look at what happened to Star Wars. As soon as Lucasfilm bought the property, first thing they did was move away from what Star Wars actually is, always has been, and it hasn't been the same since Lucas signed that contract. Says production was expected to start in London in early 2026 with potential late 26, 27 release, focusing on original mythology, deeper themes, and new characters for a fresh take. Like, really? I mean, they're already getting it all wrong. No one gives a damn about their personal lives. What does Zach eat for breakfast every morning? What does Trini do when she's not at school? Who cares? One thing we cared about back in the day, see him say it's morphin' time. Beating up buddies, monsters blowing up, and occasionally getting their ass beat by the Green Ranger, which was hysterical. I want to see Kimberly going to the mall shopping for shoes or any of that crap. And they did a whole bunch of stuff in the show, like dirt biking, skydiving in the movie. A lot of stuff I never got to do in high school, so I'll give her props for that. But that's still like, it's not the same as like Jason having dad problems or something. Like, who cares? It's like Disney Wars with all these stupid prequels. I'm like, dude, who cares? What happened in between? Who cares? You know where it's going. Doesn't matter. All ends up with Luke on that stupid island anyway, so doesn't matter. So it says the producers are Hasbro, 20th Television. That makes sense. Johnny Steinberg and Dan Schultz from Percy Jackson. So the tone is going to be mature. That's not the right tone at all. That's a problem. Cinematic with deeper stories. Oh my God. Deeper stories, darker themes, intense action. Yeah, okay, I can get behind that. Targeting older audiences. Like, there's the problem that these idiots in suits never understand that Don't always need to have like dark, deeper themes with these older properties. Just tell a story. If you're really trying to target people in the 30s and 40s that grew up with the series back in the 90s, you don't need to make it deep. Just make it what it used to be. Campy, corny, stupid. Like you look at Power Rangers as a kid very differently than you do when you're an adult. Like I watch this stuff now, I'm laughing my ass off because it's hilarious. I'm not taking this seriously. It's impossible. You can't. Says casting leaks. Says official confirmation Steiber confirmed product development in late 25. Casting leaks, rumors circulating in early 2026 about potential actors, including Mason Thames, I guess, and that's him. And Odessa, no idea what that is. Fan reaction mixed with some excited for a mature reboot, while others fear it might deviate too far or disappoint. It's already deviating by saying it's going to be mature. Like Power Rangers should never be mature. When you got these actors with these bright ass costumes beating up things called putties and big ass monsters, it's not mature. It's stupid and it's silly. That's what it should be. This is not mature. This is silly. This is corny. It's what it's always been. And one thing the 2017 film did was it set up Tommy pretty well in the end credits sequence. But again, he had a lot of lore in that film that was just never brought up again, never explored, never discussed. So looking back, I don't think it was ever going to get a sequel. Like, I was skeptical about it with good reason. Because like I get like even reader posts in the show was all Japanese footage, obviously. Yes, he's doing it. It's just you can't take this seriously. You can't make this shit mature. It can't be done. Look at this. Can't be done. So you look at Adam West Batman, like it had to be campy back then. Which it wouldn't have worked if Adam West was Michael Keaton Batman. Impossible. It's like you take this, like there's a reason this was so popular in the 90s. Because it was corny, because it was goofy. It appealed to kids in that generation like myself. I got my collectibles from all the 90s. I got my Dragon Dagger in storage right now. Like my favorite Ranger back in the day was Jason. Jason, Tommy, Kimberly was my first crush as a kid. Between Topanga and Kelly from Married with Children, I think Kimberly was number one for me. Well, three of them were smoking hot, but Kimberly was number one for me. How do you make this super mature? How do you make this stuff into mature? You can't. It can't be done. Now, this part right here was kind of dark in a way. As a kid watching this, your favorite ranger trapped in a dark dimension, and then a to be continued. I'm like, yeah, she drove me bonkers back in the day. But you do that shit today, it's like, come on, man, you can't make this mature. You know, like Jason Long versus Goldar, no Morpher. Shit. I mean, the reason the 95 movie worked is because it was corny. Look at the Ooze Dude. The Ooze Dude is basically a freaking drug lord. Selling drugs to kids and junk, and I'm like, it's no wonder so many of my peers are into drugs. All makes sense now. And the dude that the Rangers answered to was a guy in a floating jar, floating head in a jar. How do you make that much more? And it worked because it stayed true to the tone of what Power Rangers was back in the day. Corny, goofy, stupid. To be honest, I don't know how that really works today. That's why originally I was like, is this even going to work in 2026? With all the political stuff going on. They're gonna make Kimberly a feminist or something. Your trini, short hair. If they even call her Trini, maybe it's gonna be Aisha. I don't know. Point is, if it takes up my Power Rangers and you say you're gonna make it mature, you can't make it mature because it's not what man what it is. And if you take one of the other shows, like Dino Charge or whatever they're called now, Power Rangers in Space, you want to make that too gritty? Do that. But don't do it with the original show. Don't do it with the series that made Power Rangers what it is. Don't do it. Personally, I'm like, I might check it out, see what happens, see what they do. Because I was like, the last Power Ranger show I watched was probably Samurai. Which again, that show was much more a little more mature. It was definitely still corny, but it still stayed true to the flavor of what Power Rangers was. And that's why it worked for me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered tuning in. That's how you appeal to older audiences. But saying it's going to be like dark and gritty and deeper themes. I'm like, deeper themes. They're freaking 5 actors in bright ass costumes, beating up monsters. Deeper themes, my ass. And take it from me. Speaking as someone who watched the show back in the day, there are no deep themes in Power Rangers. None. 5 actors beating up monsters blowing up, jumping into big ass robots. And that's it. You were crying out loud, like we're the same colors as their costumes when they're in school. I mean, back in the day, that made sense, so you can immediately figure out who's who. And they were already friends, and that's another problem with the 2017 film, is that they tried to make it a stupid origin story. Like, get to the point. That's why 95 film worked. They didn't waste time giving us a fight sequence with them in the cast. That's why 2017 film stinks. waste so much freaking time with stupid origin that never needed to happen in the first place. Like, get to the point. You're gonna give me a heist story in Star Wars? Get to the point. Show me the heist story. Don't waste my time. There's like 5 episodes leading up to it. Give me the damn heist story. Stop wasting my time with this pointless exposition. Like, when people want to see Power Rangers, they want to see this. You didn't have monsters. You had costumes. It's coming. Messy night. Tell me with a line like that, you gotta make that shit into a dark, gritty ass tone. You gotta be shitting me. Like, just no. And so this comes from the Gazette. Power Rangers Disney Plus Reboot rumor says Monaco stars up for Rita Repulsa. Said Percy Jackson bosses Johnny Steinberg and Dan Schultz seem ready to merge, morph their Disney Plus Power Rangers reboot into reality as Catherine rumors rapidly emerge. With Percy Jackson, the Olympian since season 2, currently streaming on Disney Plus, and season 3 reportedly set to conclude in a few months. Are things starting to heat up on the streamers' upcoming Power Rangers reboot? For Percy Jackson are developing the series, and the belief is they'll go right into pre-production of Power Rangers series as soon as season 3 or Percy Jackson's in the can. I just don't want them to rush through Percy Jackson to get to this. I want Percy Jackson to be good. I want Percy Jackson to go on for a long time. I want them to adapt all the books, including House of Hades, in live action of the Percy Jackson series. Now, if they get different showrunners to do the Power Rangers series, I'll be a little more less skeptical about this. Because just to me, it just sounds like, or I assume we get this third season in the can, we're going to go right into this. I'm like, don't rush it. Don't rush it. Because that's how you get Last of Us season 2. Adding fuel to the fire is that a ton of rumors have started creeping on about the show's cast and plot for the series. So it says here Priyanka Chopra is reported being eyed for Rita Repulsa. I'm like, yeah. Rita Repulsa said to be available. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, it seems like a pretty solid casting. Again, if they're moving away from Super Sentai and whatnot, obviously they're going to have to get an American actor, or I guess she's Pakistani, I don't know. Whatever her nationality is, she seems like a pretty solid casting choice. Elizabeth Banks was Rita in the 2017 Bill reboot. Just, yeah. She was good casting as well, but the tone was all over the place, and that's why the film sucks. I'll say this, like, Turbo is probably worse than 2017. The Turbo it was disgusting. I'm not going to go into why. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. My question at the Percy Jackson season 2 premiere, I got rid of the videotapes of Turbo as a kid. It just grossed me out so much. The tone was all over the place, and that's those gross looking monsters that crawl into the ship and drink them like that deuce. Gross. Like they moved away from the teens with attitude, and like fair enough, get to grow up, fine. But again, the spirit of Power Rangers has always been goofy, corny. You never take it seriously because it doesn't take seriously. It says, let's just say we very much hope to bring the story to life. So that's all I can say at this point. Like, yeah, Stanford was in question as to whether the reboot would start off with the classic Power Ranger lineup. Said the rumor is true. I cannot tell you about the initial character lineup, but I'm very excited for that story. And so this goes back into what I was saying before about the tone and using Mighty Morphin and bringing that into the modern world, which is where a lot of previous series have fallen apart, like Star Wars. Like I can't even say Star Trek. I'm not really a Star Trek fan. Star Wars, as an example, bringing that into the modern world, all this political crap. It's how you get disasters like the Disney Wars trilogy. And horribly written shows like Ahsoka. As much as I like the character, the show is just it's abysmal. And if I still cared about that era, I would say that I'm nervous about the future of the franchise, but there really is no franchise anymore, so it doesn't matter. But as a fan of the original Power Rangers series, I would say the same thing with TMNT. I'm like, just stick with what made it work. Stop trying to change everything. There's been so many different TMNT iterations, just like Power Rangers. It's like one show a little bit darker, and then another show is campy, and then another show is darker. And I'm like, make up your mind. Then the 2007 animated film, just called TMNT, and Leo freaking murder a dude in the freaking jungle. I'm like, what this? I mean, granted, of course, Power TMNT started in the 80s, and they were dark, a very dark comic series. But like, there's mostly kids in the audience, man. They see this, I'm like, wow. But if they were going to do something like that, I'm like, you just try to murder that guy. And then the rest of the film was kind of dark as well because creepy ass monsters and all that. And I'm like, yeah. So at least they stayed consistent with that. But you can't go from something like Ring of Evil to this nonsense. Because then they just they had a 2017 film being dark and gritty and all over the place, and they play the Minor Morphin theme song. I'm like, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. It came out of left field, and it doesn't match with what the film was trying to tell me. The film didn't know what it wanted to be, didn't know what tone it wanted to be, didn't know what story it wanted to tell. Is this an origin story? Because they had a bunch of established lore in the beginning that they never discussed later in the film. When they're fighting, it's like a computer game graphic from PS2. So their attempt to make it dark and gritty failed. So I don't think doing that again is going to work. I just don't think Power Rangers is going to work in this modern day and age. Just tonally what it was. It's like tonally what Power Rangers was. I don't think that can be translated well in this modern world. And 2017 film was proof. Yeah, just it can't. I don't think it can work. Now, this is an interesting article. It says Power Rangers Jonathan and Whistle's scrapped reboot was set to be a multiverse story. Built around Tommy Oliver. New details have emerged about the Power Rangers reboot Jonathan and Whistle had been developing for Netflix, including plans for a multiversal story. Normally, I'd be all for more Tommy Oliver Green Ranger stuff, but when you get into the multiverse, as we've seen with Marvel Cinematic Universe and the mess it's become, the multiverse is a very tricky concept. It can be a crutch, much like time travel is a crutch. Like the Avengers lose in Infinity Wars, of course they go back in time. It just became too obvious what they were going to do at that point. Like, of course they're going to go back in time. Because they couldn't live with their own failure. So that was the original plan. I don't know. I don't think that would have worked either, for the reason I just said. 4 years later, the iteration of the product was scrapped, with Hasbro handing the keys to the Power Rangers Kingdom to Disney Plus. Okay. It says here that Ed Whistle has previously shared a few details about what he had planned for the franchise, teasing Ed Whistle's bold, ballsy approach. He explained the filmmaker's goal was to deliver a real show. What? With an adult, dark, and gritty tone, like, yeah, no. This take on Power Rangers would have been a multiverse story with past Ranger dying on screen and actual Ranger wars. What? With flying dragons? Rick? Yeah. And that goes to another problem a lot of people had with Tommy taking over as the leader of the team, is that it became a Tommy Oliver show. I'm not going to dispute that because kind of exactly what it became. Says lines of past comments from Ed Whistle, which talked about his multiversal vision for the property and wanted to establish Tommy and the mythology surrounding him as the center of Power Rangers universe. Lord Dracon, I've heard of that character. The version of Tommy was set to be the main villain. And they could do that for a TV show. They want to do that, do something a little different. I guess that would work, but the multiverse centered around Tommy, I don't know if that could really work per se. There's a lot of fans that would be against it because like a lot of there's OG fan like me. I love all the Rangers, all the actors. Nothing against the actors, nothing against the characters. Jason was my favorite, was the Red Ranger. My favorite Ranger was Jason. Then it was Tommy. I mean, to be fair, JDF kind of kept the franchise going for a while after it died out for a couple of years. Came back in a couple of different shows. Then you left after Turbo, came back for Dino Thunder or something as a Black Ranger. The only reason I watched that show. They wanted to boost their ratings and it worked. So, and again, that's how you appeal to older fans. Give them what they want. You don't just, it's going to be dark and gritty. Like, no, it can't be dark and gritty. Nothing about Power Rangers has ever been dark and gritty. It'll never work. Can't be done. I think I know what they're pulling from though. I think this is pulling from one of the comics, one of the newer comics. I think I've bought a couple of them. I don't think I've read them yet, but says Power Rangers fans will be hoping this iteration fares better than the 2017 movie. I doubt it. I mean, it can't be done. It just can't be done. You can take a character like Batman and make him goofy in the 60s and then make him relatively serious in the 80s, late 80s and 90s. Even now, Batman Forever, but the Keaton universe in particular is what I'm talking about. Then you had the animated series, which was pretty dark, and that's basically where characters stayed for the better half last couple of decades. I can't remember the last time I saw a goofy Batman show. And if there is one, I probably didn't bother watching it because I don't like that type of stuff with that character. Just like I don't like the idea of a dark and gritty Power Ranger show. It sounds stupid. The idea alone is dumb because this is not going to work. It's not going to work. I kind of hope it does, but I mean, Disney Plus, they're probably going to renew it anyway. If they're really trying to target adults and teens in my age group, don't try and change what it was. Stay true to what it was. Otherwise, you're just going to end up with 2017 all over again.